Hi, it's Mel. Here are my pin twist nails featuring a little bit of one stroke using acrylic paint and a little bit of cheeky cheetah print and using my one stroke Floanelli brush. Enjoy! I'm going to start with two contrasting colours, a white, always a white or a cream, and a darker colour. I'm going to make sure my brush is wet, and when you look at the brush, if you're using a slant, the highest point is where the light colour goes. So about 20% of the light colour goes on. And then you do exactly the same. Turn the brush over and load the dark colour on. Okay. And then using the back of my hand or glove or a palette, a few strokes very lightly on the back of the hand, moving 1 millimetre up and 1 millimetre down to blend that centre line. We don't want anything, no flagging, we don't want any solid lines there, we want that to be perfectly blended. And then we're going to do it again, so we're going to load twice. 2 or 3 times is a good load for your paint. The consistency of your paint should be double cream, so you will need to mix it with water. If it's too thin, it won't be pigmented enough. If it's too thick, you just won't be able to get that blend. So I'm starting my first nail. I'm going to pop my colour on. I've stamped with filigree and I've matte top coated. That is important, as that will make the paint grip. And I'm doing it twice just to load those bristles. Don't take all your paint off. And then I'm going to go in. So slightly off centre. All flowers should be odd numbered, not even. So I'm going to start, and if you can see, I'm wiggling my brush. There's a few methods. You can tap, you can wiggle, you can do it in one stroke. I prefer this, so slight stroking, almost like a swooshing movement of my brush. I feel that the tapping method is too edgy, and this needs to be quite soft, one stroke. I do feel that tapping it makes it look a little bit edgy. Each of these strokes I'm going to go over for a second time. So I'm going to go over them just to create that depth of colour. As you can see, all the petals are different sizes. This will give it movement and the illusion that it is a flower. You don't want them all to be symmetrical. You want them to be slightly different. If your brush feels like it is going dry and claggy, you must clean it off and reload. You'll know when your brush has had enough and you need to clean and start again. There are different things you can get. You can get floating mediums that will help with the flow of the paint. You can buy those from craft shops, acrylic floating mediums, and they're really, really good just to put in the brush just to help with the flow of the paint. So just keep working over those petals twice. And you can see I've left the centre there for the stigma. So I'm going to do now a turquoise and white, exactly the same process. Light on the highest point of the brush, dark on the lowest point. And I'm just going to add a few little petals around the outside of this. So nice and slow, okay? Try not to, like I say, stab at the one stroke, because you will get those definitive lines in it, and we don't want that. We want it to look smooth and blended. So I'm going in again. So that just looks like another flower's coming out from behind. Now, because obviously this it was cheetah print on this, and I wanted to, on this particular nail, I wanted to pop a little bit of a design on there with the cheetah. So I've used acrylic paint on the flower, so that's drying automatically, but this is gel. Okay, so I've picked gel polish to the colour of the cheetah, and I'm just going to paint a few petals on over the top of my one stroke. And then I'm going to cure this, and I'm going to add my cheetah design shortly with acrylic paint. So pop that into cure in the lamp. And then I'm going to use black acrylic paint. This is Mystic Nails acrylic paint, and I'm going to add cheetah spots. Now, cheetah spots, some are big, some are little. They're not round, they're misshapen. So you can see they're all different. Some are kind of oblongy, some are circly. They're very irregular in shape, and because this was quite a cool design. I'm going to fill in with black dots, black stigma, little black details, just to make that one stroke pop out. So as you can see, the black is actually starting to make things stand out a little bit now. So I'm just going to carry on adding a few little details. There we go. And then I'm going to add some bright pink. Dots are a nail tech's best friend. So dot up, ladies, little petals, little dots, just to fill in those gaps and make it look cool. And then you're going to top coat that when it's dry. So this is the other design I did. So I started with my turquoise base and I've done a perfect circle in the middle of my nail with my cheetah colour. So you've got to make sure that the colours do go together and they do complement each other. And then I'm going to cure that and I'm going to matte top coat. And matte top coat is important for one stroke. You can't work on top of shiny, so make sure you matte. And this time I'm mixing the paint the same, but I'm just doing tiny little single petals around the circle. So I'm almost making a wreath, just framing. And I'm going to imagine I've drawn an S on my tip. So I'm going to imagine I've drawn an S on my tip, which will then make the nail, the composition flow from top to bottom. So you'll see what I mean in a second when this all comes to fruition. So I've popped that lovely turquoise and white colour on, mixing my colours exactly the same. You can see your back of your hand looks like a Formula 1 car by the time you've finished. So again, you can use acrylic paint or you can use gel paint. I prefer to use acrylic paint for one stroke, but that's my preference. I do use gel paint, but I do prefer acrylic paint as I find it quicker. So I'm just grabbing my fine liner now and I'm going to add some more black detail. So I'm going to do my cheetah spots again. So again, over the matte top coat, this has got to be, because it gives it something to grab onto. So the cheetah print's being painted on. Remember, haphazard, not symmetrical. And now I'm going to be adding some black detail. So I'm getting my paint to almost a double cream consistency. Releasing the pressure off my brush and drawing some trailing vines in that S shape that's going over the nail at an angle, because it does look a little bit more pleasing that way rather than straight up and straight down. And once that's dry, I'm going to add a couple more of that bright pink, little tiny dots, again just to fill it out. As I've said before, dots are a nail tech's best friend. So pop some dots on. And just to finish this design off, I'm going to use something that's Crystal Nails have bought out. It's a flexible striping tape. You can see it in the top left hand corner there. And this tape is bendy. So you can bend it into all kinds of shapes. So I'm going to do this into a circle. So once that's dry, I'm going to take a piece off, I'm going to pop it on. So this is all dry and top coated, it's just the acrylic paint that's on there. And then as you see, what I'm doing is I'm using my tweezers to curl it round and I'm using my thumb to press and bend. So press and bend, press and bend. And you can see that that tape is going on perfectly. Press and bend, it's curling, it's not ruching, it's not puckering up or anything like that. And I'm going to get right round to the end, join that circle up, and I'm going to just use my tweezers to nip that off. And I'm going to save that little bit. Oh no, I'm going to use my scissors. It's easier. Grab my scissors and cut that off. There we go. And you can reuse that little bit that's come off. And then top coat and cure. So for my last design, I'm going to do a third of the nail with my cheetah colour. And I'm going to matte top coat it. So I'm going to do 2 coats of my cheetah colour. I'm going to matte top coat because I do need that matte top coat for one stroke. So it grabs an acrylic paint. I'm going to do my cheetah design as we've done before. And then I'm just going to add again a few little one stroke petals. So I'm just showing you again there. you put the colour on the brush, 20-80%, 20 is the lightest, 80 is the darkest, and you blend that on the back of your hand, moving from side to side, 1 millimetre up, 1 millimetre down, so it blends that colour together. And then I'm going to start the petals. So always remember it's an odd number. These colours just look so nice. So there's my pink flower. I'm just going to add a tiny bit of a blue flower now with that lovely turquoisey green. So again, same principle. White on the point of the brush, dark at the bottom. Make sure the colours are contrasting and not too similar, otherwise you'll not get that effect. And you need to make sure you've not got that flagging, make sure you've got that blend. Tiny little sweep. There we go. So I've just added 3 elements, and then I'm going to go in with my stigmas and any other little details. So I'm just using the tip of my fine liner brush and my acrylic paint. So my acrylic paint, I always get it to a double cream consistency. That's really important. So it needs to be mixed with water, so it's a double cream consistency, and that way it will go on really well. If your paint's too thick, leave it out and it will start to thicken. So I'm going to use that lovely bendy tape again. So I'm going to remove it off my background. I'm going to pop it on and I'm going to stick it in a perfectly straight line, because you can do with this. I'm going to get rid of the ends of that and I'm going to top coat. And there is my 3 designs finished. So 3 different designs from one picture, all using a little bit of one stroke. I hope you enjoyed it.